welcome to the Beyond Being Good video series. In this episode I'm going to speak with you about how to go and create meetings that matter. Ron Ashkenas, author of The Boundaryless Organisation, recently reported in the Harvard Business Review blog that the majority of managers believe that their meetings are inefficient and ineffective. Your role as an effective leader, a high-performing leader, is to conduct effective meetings. Yet Ron also highlights that despite this knowledge, most managers continue to conduct and or attend ineffective and inefficient meetings. So what that says is that the vast majority of people don't know how to conduct effective meetings. Now, a few things about meetings. From your experience, how many people actually read the full agenda prior to attending the meeting? Now, if you're on a board or something like that, clearly they do, but a lot of ongoing management type meetings, people don't read everything that they're supposed to have read, or if they do, they're doing it 5 minutes before they get in the door. Secondly, in terms of the actions and the notes and the meeting notes that go out at the end of the meeting, many people experience a time lag where they're effectively useless in terms of when they get them. So this methodology that I'm going to teach you today, the 7 steps for enabling you to conduct meetings that matters, are going to enable you to have an effective meeting process where you can get the job done inside the time of the meeting. So let's go through the 7 steps. The first step is to check in. Now, what does that mean? A lot of people, when they come to a meeting, may have just had an argument with someone in a hallway. Maybe they've even been confronted by a staff member where there's been some ongoing issues, or maybe they had a near car accident on the way. The purpose of the check-in is a quick, short and sharp process where every member of the team just literally says where they're at. Now, it might be, yeah, I'm fine, ready to go. It could be as simple as that, or look, I had a near car accident on the way here. To be honest, I'm a little bit flustered, but I'll be okay. Or I've just been confronted and had an issue with Jono again, and look, I'm just still getting over it, but I'll be right in a few minutes. Now, what the researchers have shown us from the emotional intelligence folk, etc., is that by doing that, by acknowledging where we're at emotionally and physically, what we're doing is enabling us to recognise it, park it, so we can then move on and focus on what we need to focus on, rather than having that issue playing away in our mind. So it enables us to focus on what we need to focus on. So it's a really important process, but it needs to be short and sharp, okay? Only a couple of minutes to go around the whole team. The second step is to clarify the purpose of the meeting. In other words, why are we here meeting anyway? Now, it might be just a simple one-sentence statement that we're just reiterating what we say every time, and I would argue that it's the leader's role to reinforce why we're meeting. So, the simple statement might be something like, as an executive team, our purpose is to drive the strategy of the organisation and help us achieve our goals. That's why we're meeting here today, to make sure we continue to do that. The third step is to collectively set the agenda. Now, this is something that people would not be used to, and you might not be used to doing, but you do it inside the meeting. Now, how this works is like this. In terms of our meeting, we may have some standard items, or standing items. Standing items, certain reports and things like that, and maybe we've got 4 of them. And we know every meeting we're going to have those standing items. What we then do is we identify the other issues. What are the other issues? And we go around the team and we notice the other issues. Now, we would have set some ground rules about what would determine what an other issue is that's important enough for us to address at this meeting, or it needs to be dealt with one-on-one outside the meeting. So we've got some parameters about that. And the simple parameters is that it relates to us achieving our purpose and achieving our goals. So let's just say we've got 4 other issues that are suggested. What we then need to do is we need to go through and identify with those other issues, how important are they in terms of the priority. Now, we may have identified that normally it takes us 20 minutes to get through these standing items, and we may choose to just get them over and done with and do them first. Or we may choose to do them last, but one way or another we're clear about how long those standing items are going to take. We then have to work out of these other 4 issues, what's their order of priority. Now, it might be that issue number 3 is actually the number 1 issue that we need to focus on. And that issue is in fact going to take us a minimum of 20 minutes to complete. Which means if we've got an hour's meeting, so 5 minutes at the start, 5 minutes at the end, we've only got 15 minutes for the rest of these. And we might be able to identify, well, actually, number 1 comes second, and that's going to take us about 5 minutes. Number 2 comes third, and that's going to take us about 5 minutes. and number 4 is fourth. And honestly, we'll get to that if we can. It's the least important on the list. It's still important, but it's the least important. And if we can, we'll spend 5 minutes on it. Okay? So what we do is we have identified the amount of time that's going to take to get through each of the items on the agenda, which leads us to the 4th step in creating meetings that matter. And that is to set a timekeeper. We need to be monitoring how long it's taking us to get through each of these steps. Okay? And I would encourage you to share that role around the membership of the team, so it's not the same person week in and week out. The role of the timekeeper is not to say, oh, stop, that's it, we've done that bit. It's just to bring the team's attention to the fact that we're closing in on the amount of time that we agreed we needed to have on this issue. And it's amazing how quickly you can start making decisions when you need to, when you've done that. Alternatively, you might recognise that, gee, that was just a guess, that 20 minutes. This issue is so important. We actually need to spend the rest of the meeting excluding the 20 minutes that we've got here, so we're still going to do that, but in fact all these other issues we're just going to have to wait. Now you can make that decision on the run, that's okay, but the timekeeper's role is to at least bring to your attention where you're at in terms of time with what you'd agreed you would do at the start of the meeting. And again, you can get really fast at setting this stuff up. This can be done very, very quickly. The 5th step for creating teams that matter is to identify your actions. So how do you do that? Well, as you're going through the meeting, you have various actions get identified. You just literally write them up. So this is like a whiteboard, by the way. This is like the whiteboard in your room, so you need to have a whiteboard. What that does is make everything public. It gives focus as well. It amazes me still how many meeting rooms don't have whiteboards in them where you can do this sort of thing. So you have a whiteboard. Obviously I've got a smaller version of what it might really look like, because you ideally might have a bigger one, but you identify your actions as you go, and as you do that you should also identify who has to do that action. Now clearly some actions are going to involve more than one person, and that's okay, you would list their names there, so it can just be their initials and you'll find that that will get the job done very easily. Right, next what you've got to do is a really annoying part for a lot of meetings is the whole writing up of the agenda. Well, the simplest thing to do to share the actions of the team, which is the 6th step in creating a meeting that matters, is to get out your smartphone at the end of the meeting, take a photo of the whiteboard, and then just send it to everyone in the room there and then. So by the time people are actually leaving the room, they've already got the notes. They know what the agenda was, they know what the order was, they know what was talked about and what wasn't. So you may have ticked things off as you've gone, okay, and you find out that you didn't get to them, so you've circled the ones maybe that you didn't do. You might have a little technique like that. It's clear about what the actions are and who has to do them. Clearly one of your standing items might also be reporting on the actions that we said we were going to do from the previous meeting. Now when it comes to reporting, you've got to be short and sharp and to the point. Too many people, say peacocks and doves for example, with their personality preferences, sometimes eagles, want to talk for too long. It's really about getting to the point and making the meeting flow. Okay? Now this brings us to the last step, which is something a lot of people would not even consider doing, and that is to reflect on your meeting skills, specifically 2 skills. 2 skills being your listening skills and your questioning skills. So this is a quick conversation about how do we go listening, how do we go questioning. You know, be okay to identify, look, you know, I think we keep talking over the top of each other, we're not letting people finish, those sorts of skills. The higher the quality of the conversations that you can have in your meetings, the higher the quality of the meetings, the higher the quality your decisions, the higher quality your actions. You can see the flow there. So, if you want to become a better leader and move beyond being good with in terms of your leadership, then it's important that you are able to conduct meetings that matter. Here's 7 steps, 7 actions to enable you to achieve that goal. And I look forward to working with you next time.